Hey, what's up guys? I'm here at the Walmart. I am here with Mozzy. He's agreed to talk to us, answer a few questions. I'll turn the camera around. We're going to see what he has to say. Alrighty. Now, how many years have you been driving?
Well, I'm still a novice driver. I've only been driving 19 and a half years.
19 and a half years? Oh, that ain't too long, is it?
I don't get to be a semi-crazy driver until I knock out 20.
Now, how'd you get into the industry?
Well, kind of by default. I spent 25 years in the Army, and after retiring from the military, there's of course not enough retirement money. And my wife asked me two questions. First one is, what the hell are you doing in my kitchen? And the second one is, don't you have somewhere you have to go for a while? And to be honest with you, being in charge of a steering wheel and responsible for myself makes it a heck of a lot simpler than being in charge of 75 people and worried about all 75 of them. So
certainly so.
That in principle is the reason I finally migrated to this. After I retired from the Army, I was construction coordinator and a few other business. But this one fit because I no longer have to go fishing or go hunting in order to be able to get away for a while. I get away enough with a windshield. So.
Exactly. So you do all long haul, all over the road?
I do all 48 states and 5 provinces of Canada.
That's wonderful. Have you ever had to go down south to Mexico?
No.
Nope.
No. I was asked to cross into there and I said, that's for somebody else. Thank you very much. Don't need it. It's more hassle than it's worth.
Very good. Now, what all kinds of stuff have you hauled? I know you're talking, you said you hauled tanker, dry box, stuff like that. What are all the things that you've...
Let me give you a quick breakdown. I started off driving a dry van with a cab over, teaming with a driver, because I had a company pay for my training, so therefore you commit to running team for a while. The only thing they had was cab overs, but we quickly transferred into a dedicated run with Procter & Gamble and got a conventional tractor, got more room, got going. Drawback was we had to give up a couple pennies per mile in order to do dedicated, so as soon as possible we transitioned into pulling tankers. I really enjoyed pulling tankers. Number one, with tankers, about 38% of what we hauled was hazardous. You handle it a little differently. The shippers and the consignees are a hell of a lot more professional. 2/3 of the time they do the loading, half the time they do the unloading. And they worry about you being squared away, awake, and good to go while you travel. I would still be in tankers, except about 2003, the freight rate for tankers went down because the railroads finally got their stuff up and got going, so that we couldn't compete very well. Hauling 6,000 gallons in a tanker compared to 33,000 gallons in a rail car.
Exactly.
So the market kind of dropped out. It was going to cost me 6 cents a mile to stay with tankers, so I transitioned into expediting. Expediting is a hurry-up wait business. You wait around for a slow dime instead of hustle for a fast nickel. 2008, the market went to hell in a handbasket there, and about 18% of the freight volume nationwide dropped the first quarter of 2008. So I ended up moving into reefers, figuring no matter what, you got to eat. So I got into reefers. Plenty of business, but it was just darn near 17 cents a mile less running reefer than it was running expedite. The difference was fast nickel. I was knocking out 25 to 3,000 miles a week regularly, so the cash flow was there. The profit margin was less, but it's a matter of balancing both. From there, they changed their policy. Company got sold, a new company took over, and they changed the policy. For me to go home in San Antonio, Texas, I was going to have to drop a trailer in McKinney, Texas, bobtail home, bobtail back. That meant I was going to have to travel 516 miles on my own just to go home, so the match didn't fit very well. Since 2009, I've been hauling my own trailer, and I'm leased onto a company that they find the freight for me, and they handle insurance, all the paperwork, all that stuff, and I agreed to or disagreed to the loads they offer me. It's just straight dry man. I've had all kinds of things, such as forklift. I've got a forklift in there right now. I've delivered to construction companies that are building Walmarts and stuff where you pull in, you have to put a strap around the pallet to drag it out of the front end. Worst thing I've ever hauled was steel rolls because they're exceedingly heavy. Forklift is exceedingly heavy, and going in and out of the trailer you can hear going crunch, 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 and you're kind of worried the floor of the trailer might give out. But other than that, as far as a career, if If I was going to be a company driver, I'd be hauling a tanker simply because of revenue. More revenue, you have to handle it differently, but that's just a matter of being left-handed instead of right-handed. You know, it's just a matter of training. It's not a big issue.
Exactly.
The logbooks handle exactly the same way. As far as me recommending anything to anybody, if he's going to be a company driver, find some tanker company because his revenue right off the bat's going to be a lot higher than doing straight private. Now, as far as getting in, getting home, and all that stuff, that totally depends on where you live and what company you sign up with. So that's a matter of getting a good working relationship with your dispatcher, and that's really nothing more than being on time every time, and that pretty much builds up a good reputation right there. What kind of questions you have?
Kind of, first off, have you always ran paper logs? Did they make you run e-logs for a little while?
Never run e-logs.
Never run e-logs.
Don't intend to. I kind of have an aversion to it. I suffer from sleep apnea, so I use a CPAP machine, and I've always been under the impression that if I need a nap, I need a nap.
Exactly.
I'm going to pull over, take a nap, whatever it takes. I log myself out to make sure I'm going to get where I'm going to get in a legal fashion and a safe fashion. Those two are principal. That's the principal reason for the e-log. If anything, the e-log is going to force shippers and consignees to get their ducks together with regard to what you can actually do and what you can't do.
Exactly.
For example, I picked up a load in Houston a day late. It wasn't a day late to me, but it was scheduled to be picked up on Wednesday. I wasn't offered the load till Thursday. So I picked up the load on Thursday, and they wanted it to be delivered on Friday. Well, you can't do 922 miles in 18 hours. It's just not going to be done. So I simply reschedule it. Today's Saturday. I delivered in Norfolk, Virginia. Oh, a couple states off. Here in Norfolk, Nebraska, I delivered it this morning. It took a little coordination, but all that is a telephone call to convince people that they'd rather have it Saturday than wait till Monday. So I've got another forklift I deliver up in Sioux Falls, South Dakota on Monday, but I wasn't about to knock both of them out today.
No.
Why? It wouldn't have done me any good to empty today and be empty for 2 days.
Yep.
Instead, I can sit here, get some good rest, get caught up, check my truck out.
Drop my cup.
You gotta watch which way the wind's coming. But it's a matter of making some smart decisions. The biggest safety issues out here on the road don't have anything to do with equipment, usually don't have anything to do with training. They have to do with decision making. Make a decision that's smart, not based on the future, but based on the present. It's smarter to be in the wrong lane at the right time than the right lane at the wrong time. The left lane is designed for people who are in a hurry. On the side of my truck it says owned and operated by Mozzy and Molasses. I'm the slower of the two, she's the sweeter of the two. I got 18 gears, might as well use all of them. The difference between hustle and hurry is, hurry means you keep opening the door, getting out and jumping back in and getting down the road doing 65 miles an hour instead of hustling. Or you keep the door closed and doing 60 miles an hour and you get there and you're half a mile per gallon better fuel, you're still at the exact same time. So take care of yourself physically. Make sure you get enough rest. Make sure you get enough exercise, because that'll make your wake hours a whole lot more efficient.
Exactly.
What other questions you got?
For a guy like myself that's just getting in the industry, what kind of things would you recommend? Not as far as going what company to go for, but things to make my career, my first couple of years, halfway enjoyable for me.
Well, first question is, what relationships do you have as far as married, not married, engaged, not engaged, brothers and sisters? Let me give you an example. I've got 7 brothers and sisters. I got one sister in Milwaukee, I got a sister in Cleveland, I got a brother in Fort Wayne, Indiana, brother in Gas City, Indiana, sister in Marion, Indiana, sister in Greenfield, Indiana, brother in Indianapolis. Every chance I get, I take advantage of the opportunity that I'm traveling, and I live in San Antonio, Texas. So by getting the opportunity to go by and visiting, even if it's 15, 20 minutes, it makes it a much more enjoyable career as far as careers are concerned. If you get a chance to go to Philadelphia, take advantage of the career, go down and see the Liberty Bell. If you get ending up in New Jersey, take a ferry across, visit New York. You're young, you can walk, get out and walk around things, do things. Don't get stuck and don't look at this as a job. Look at more as a career. If you look at it as a career, it'll fit into your life as opposed to you fitting into it.
I like that. I like that analogy right there.
Carry a fishing pole with you. If you have to, buy a fishing license in whatever state you're hanging out in a lot. If you get into a company that runs from Minnesota to South Carolina, back to Minnesota, back to South Carolina, if you know you're going to be shut down possibly for a day and a half in certain locations, if you're a fisherman, get a cotton picking out of state license. It may cost you $15, $30, but hey, that's a heck of a lot less than going to a movie, staring into the deal going, gee, I wish I was in movies. You know, do whatever fits your particular lifestyle. If you read books, carry 5 or 6 of them with you, by golly. When you break down, you got a book to take up your time. If you're laid over for a day and a half, you got something to occupy your time. Get magazines, do whatever it is to take up your activity. Otherwise, it's real easy to get bored. And if you get bored and you get out on the interstate and you're driving and then you're bored and you're still bored, your sense of paying real close attention to what all's going on tends to be a little bit diminished. A couple key things. For example, if you have to stop and take a quick nap, don't ever do it at the steering wheel. Climb over to the other one, turn sideways, put a pillow behind you, and go to sleep. 5, 10, 20 minutes, depending on whatever your particular power nap is. Scientists will tell you most people take power naps that are effective between 20 and 40 minutes. Above 40 minutes, they tend to start getting into REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep, and you tend to have a different type of sleep cycle. But as far as refreshment, refreshing, rejuvenating, most people need at least 20 minutes in order to be able to get their body off of one cycle and into another. When you do that, if you do it laying against the steering wheel and then you wake up and you get going, you do that 5, 6, 7 times, you develop the habit. Your mind says it's okay for your eyes to close with the steering wheel in front of you. That's not good. It is just psychologically not a good thing. As far as you and a career, keep in mind everything as far as developing habits requires a minimum of 21 days for most people. So figure the first 21 days you're out doing anything, you're going to be new in it. The 24th time, remember this, habits are not only good for you, but they can be bad for you. If you practice the wrong way, then that's the way it's going to be permanent. You know the old phrase, practice makes perfect? That's not actually accurate. It's practice makes permanent. And if you permanently practice the wrong way, you're permanently going to get stuck in that groove of doing it that way. So while you're at the school, ask all the questions you can, and there's absolutely nothing stupid about a stupid question. A stupid question is one that you should have asked while you were in training, and here it is 4 months later going, I wonder if I should have asked. That's stupid. So if the other kids ridicule you or the other students ridicule you, that's on there. It's on them. They might as well be in the bar ditch. You know?
Exactly.
One of the things I think you have to tell kids, make sure you bring enough clothes. Ain't nothing worse than being funky on the highway.
And that leads me to another question. The increasing problem with, especially the newer truck drivers coming out there, is they just have an utter disregard for themselves and others. They go with weeks without showers. They do not change. They throw their garbage and everything else in the parking lots. I personally detest that. It makes everybody else look bad. What are your thoughts on the subject?
Well, there are certain things worth falling on your sword about. Number one, like I say, I spent almost 25 years in the Army. If you walk past a mistake, you just endorsed it. If there's trash, you're walking past it, don't let it be above yourself to pick up that soda can and go and throw it away. You can always wash your hands, no big deal. Just because others are making your particular career look bad should not reflect upon you.
Exactly.
I will tell you, I've actually had several people point out to me, here I am, I'm parked in a Walmart parking lot. Walmart is not known for being super friendly to truck drivers. You have maybe 1 out of 10 Walmarts that allow semi-truck driver parking. Here in Norfolk they choose to because they choose to. But I've actually had people thank me for picking some trash up as I'm walking into Walmart. And they knew quite well I stepped out of a semi-truck and I'm walking toward the front of the store. And they know darn well where that trash probably came from. Not necessarily, but probably came from. To me, don't worry about the other guy. You worry about yourself. You keep yourself clean. You keep yourself picked up.
Exactly, and I like that explanation. Don't worry about what the other guys are doing. If you have a chance to make it better, you make it better for yourself.
Well,
Yeah.
the same thing's true driving down the road. You can't drive that other guy's car.
Exactly.
You can't drive that other guy's truck. Don't waste time getting on the CB going, what the hell are you doing? How come you're doing this? Now, if it's a question of saying, hey, are you awake? Buddy, you're not maintaining lane control. You okay? Are you sick? You need coffee? You need some help? What you got? He may be on the phone. He may be sick. He may be sneezing. Who knows? He may not answer you on the CB. He may get embarrassed, whatever. The point being is you try and be as professional as you possibly can, and I'm totally convinced that there are other people who are going to say, I guess it's time for me to sit up a little bit. Yeah, okay. Time to get squared away. Let me give you a couple key warnings. The older you get, the easier it is to get angry. The more fatigued you get, the easier it is to get angry. The more angry you get, the easier it is to make stupid decisions. Stupid decisions make for some serious accidents. Rest, rest, and rest. I don't care if it's 15-minute rest. If you pull in a consignee and he's not going to be able to get to you till 2.5 hours, set your alarm for an hour and 45 minutes, try and take a nap or read a magazine. Do something to relax you instead of twiddling your thumb, tapping on the dashboard, wondering when the hell they're going to get to me. As far as that's concerned, that's one of the many reasons I don't run reefer. I don't have as much patience as people need to run reefer. They're just not as efficient shipping. They're not as efficient as they could be receiving. And there are, of course, quite a few exceptions to that. There's an awful lot of companies that do drop and hook. You drop and hook, you pull in here, you drop a trailer, pick up another trailer, and you're gone. That's efficient. That makes for a lot easier rhythm of work. Typically, those companies tend to pay a little bit less. You pay for what you get, or you get what you pay for. Both of those tend to be true in the trucking business. What are some of the other things? Sunglasses. If you live to be old enough, you're going to get cataracts. It's just a fact of life. You stand out in the sun long enough, with your skin exposed, you're going to get sunburn. Number one, use sunblocker. Number two, use sunglasses every chance you get. I'm 67 years old. My younger sister has cataracts and I don't. I use sunglasses religiously. In fact, I spent $400 on this pair. This has what they call double D. I've got reading glasses on the top, reading glasses on the bottom, so I don't have to be doing this with the reading stuff I have written on the top of my deal, which has to do with fuel stops, fuel prices, that sort of stuff. Get the equipment you need, buy the best pair of shoes you can that fit you so you can walk in them, or boots, whatever the case may be. Get the most comfortable clothes, whatever your particular style is. Every one of us is doing a fashion statement out here, whether or not it's a hoodie, whether or not it's a baseball cap, no matter what it is. But the best investment you can spend is on yourself, whether it be your education, whether it be your equipment, your clothing. But it's a hell of a lot better investment on you than it is on a piece of chrome. You know, lots of chrome don't get you home.
Exactly.
But by the same token, I got a friend who traded in his W900, chrome all over the place. He traded in for a T2000. He said he gained 10 pounds because he didn't have anything to do. With a W900, he was out polishing that chrome all the time. So he went back and he traded his truck back in. Do what fits you. Know yourself. One thing I will warn every single new truck driver is the first year he's going to learn more about himself than he ever knew. He's going to go, you know, I get tired of this, or this bothers me, or how do I deal with that? One thing I would recommend you do, get yourself a talking buddy. What I mean by that is I've got 8 fellows on my favorite list that are truck drivers. I'll call them up, got my Bluetooth on, and because of my age, I have to use one with a boom mic and a hearing pad, because otherwise the road noise is just too much. But I'll work out with them. I got a buddy who does expediting. He runs an awful lot at night. I run an awful lot at night. I choose to drive at night out of my own personal choices. But I'm also one that can easily sleep during the day. If you can't sleep during the day, your dispatcher needs to know that. Your service team leader or operations manager, whoever it is, the company you're running for needs to fit you, not the other way around. The human is not quite as flexible as this truck is. This truck can operate 24/7. I can't. I prefer to drive at night for several reasons. Number one, I can average more miles per hour. I can because there's less traffic. It's flat and simple as that. Number two, I don't mind picking up a load at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and running it overnight. Is that the most efficient? it is for me. Is it for my buddy Cowboy Jim Brady? No, he's a solar-powered truck driver. If the sun ain't up, he ain't up. So he's got to do, he runs a flatbed. Flatbed tends to not pick up 4 o'clock in the afternoon, run overnight, deliver the next morning. They tend to be in the daylight, they pick it up, they move it, they do it, and they're going to have a crane or somebody there to pick it up the next day. It's not like bumping a dock, you can bump that at 3 o'clock in the morning. So, another thing with regard to new truck driving careers. You're not going to end up in the same company you started with, most probably. Most truck drivers will switch trucks or will switch companies anywhere between 5 to 7 times in a career. Now, I personally pride myself on the fact that I've never quit a company. But every single one of them I've ever worked for that I'm no longer working for, they changed. First company I worked for, when they dropped their freight rate by 6 cents a mile, it was going to cost me $6,000 a year at 100,000 miles a year just to stay there. Well, I couldn't afford to give them $6,000 back just to say thank you very much for your name on my truck.
Exactly.
The next company I worked for, what happened with them? They got sold, they changed policy. It cost me money to stay there. The third company, I'd be with them still. It's an expediting company, except the type of freight ran out. Expediting is that hurry up and wait freight. Well, there's just less and less and less and less of it. If I were a straight truck or a cargo van, I'd still be there because that type of freight stayed there, but full truck loads didn't. Pulling expedited for a semi-truck, it's usually a Yellow, a Schneider, a JB Hunt, one of these big companies, Swift company, one of their normal runs that they couldn't get to. Well, if the freight volume nationwide is down 18%, that means they have 18% more trucks available, so they didn't need new things. So that's why I went into reefer. With reefer, I told you the policy of the company I was hauling for changed. All things considered, if I lived in Michigan instead of Texas, I'd probably still be with them. Plenty of freight running in and out of Michigan, plenty of freight running out of Indiana. Here, you're out here in Norfolk, Virginia, Nebraska. I keep displacing you guys out here.
It's all right, middle of nowhere.
There's an awful lot of reefer stuff out here because there's an awful lot of meat being processed. So there's probably a lot of good reefer companies out here that work real well to get guys in and out and in and out and in and out here if you're living here in this particular locale. So it's a matter of working out relationships and stuff. One thing I will tell you, make sure it's real clear before you get signed up with any company that's going to hire you. Is it 7 days and a half a day off? Or is it 6 days and a half a day off that you earn? Because otherwise you get out there and well, gee, you can have Saturday morning, but I got to load Saturday afternoon. You just let them know that, hey, your health and your family is every bit as important as that truck. One thing I need you, every brand new truck driver to know is somebody else needs you. If the company you're with is treating you like dirt, there's some company that won't. It's a matter of finding that company that's going to treat you with respect. They're not going to treat you any better than you treat them, though. You treat them like crap, you might as well go find another career. You might as well become a carpenter or something, so you can beat the hell out of a nail and take out your frustration. You cannot take your frustration out with a semi-truck. It just does not work. You'll jam up the gears, you'll jam up the brakes, you'll jam up something, you'll screw something up, and then it's going to come back on you. Karma is real serious in this business. You get angry at somebody and you slam into the dock, and all of a sudden you find out your fifth wheel won't release. Who did it?
Exactly.
It wasn't the dock. It wasn't the dock that did it. It was that fifth guy behind that steering wheel. What else can I tell brand new truck drivers? If at all possible, put money away. Save money. It's 2015. In 2016, you're not going to be able to look back and say, oh, I wish I'd have put money away, and be able to get that money. If at all possible, put some kind of money away right now and make it a habit. Do it for 21 days and then see if the 22nd day you can't still put a nickel or two or a dime or a dollar. I don't care if it's $1 a day. After 21 days, that's still 21 bucks. Okay, try and be as frugal as possible. If you can get in the habit of putting money away into an account that you don't ever think about, a serious incident comes up, you go, oh shoot, I forgot. I got $1,100 in such and such. Or I got $2,300 or whatever. 4 years goes by, you'd be surprised how much you get in there. It's not going to compound its interest like it used to for stocks, but by the same token, it'll be there instead of not being in there. So What are your other questions?
I just got one more. And the only reason I bring this up is because I got to talking to a driver a little bit earlier in the day. How has the trucking industry changed from when you got into the business to where you're at now?
Well, there's too many to mention, but the real question is, what are the serious things that have changed? I personally think the most serious thing that's changed is trucking companies know more and more that they have to take care of their drivers, more so today than they did in 2000 or 1995. And the reason being is they're not being able to get as much done with the same driver as they could back then. They can't abuse you and get away with it. Another thing I want you to, before we get off on the rest of it, one thing that's changed is drivers don't have to be as responsible for as much under the hood as they used to. But I would recommend that the driver get as familiar as possible about anything they can affect. Check your oil every time you stop. Let me back up. Every time you stop and get fuel. You don't need to stop. Just do it. I'm nearly worn out the hinge on this, but it's my truck. I worry about it. I've got 1,618,000 on this truck, and this is my last truck. I've still got 384,000 miles to go before I get 2 million on her so I can retire. But know what your oil's all about. Know what your coolant's all about. Know what your belts and hoses are all about. Those are things that you can keep yourself rolling. And think of what happens if you're rolling down the road in the center of a construction zone, single lane, your fan belt breaks. If you can't keep rolling, if you don't know how to keep rolling, you could block up traffic for ages back, and then you may be in there as much as 18 hours while they whittle things around to get to you. Or it may also cause your power steering to go out, and there's a curve in the construction zone. How do you handle that? Okay? Various things to consider, you got to keep in mind. How else has the trucking business changed? The truck itself is a lot more comfortable. I will tell you this much. There are an awful lot of trucks that have low windshields. Kenworth T600s, they're now 670s, whatever they are. I can't ride in them because the seat sets up too low, and I have to do one of these here to be able to look underneath the visor. That's going to wear your neck out. That's going to wear your back out. It's going to beat you up all to hell. It is hard to really follow the premise to go 150, 200 miles, stop, get out, and walk around. It's not an easy thing to do because you're wanting to go. But if you look at your trip planning, and you know that I've got so many hours to get so far, and you got that cotton picking 14-hour rule beating you up, the 11-hour rule beating you up, make sure whatever seat you have, it's a good seat. If it's not a good seat, and the trucking company treats you like crap and say, well, I'm sorry, this is it, search for one that's going to fit you. Don't try and fit them. If you're looking at this as a career, and you're looking at doing more than just seasonal work, remember, it's a lot easier to replace a chair than it is to replace a driver.
Exactly.
Every time you change, there you go, another stupid driver.
Yeah, somebody's showing off.
No, he's not. He's just wasting money. He ain't showing me nothing. Every time you change careers, let's just say you're going to work for J.B. Hunt for a year, then you go from J.B. Hunt to Schneider, you're going to lose approximately $2,500 just in the movement if you're an owner-operator. If you're a company driver, it's not quite the same drastic. The point is, there's going to be a week of transition, you're not getting revenue. But it can be worth the investment. Every time you change, take me for example, if I change my seat, that's a $1,000 seat. But that may be a $1,000 investment in myself, being able to go and earn $1,000 more. Again, treat yourself the best. If your shoes don't feel right, go get another pair of shoes. What's a pair of shoes cost at Walmart? 30 bucks, 40 bucks, 50 bucks. If they don't work, they don't work. Get them away. What else can I say? What other questions you have?
Yo, that's about all I can think of, man. You've been more than informative.
Well, I'm not afraid to share the do's and don'ts.
Exactly, and that's nice. You're not sugarcoating anything, you're telling it like it is. That's wonderful.
And don't keep secrets from your loved ones. If you can make it, you can make it. If you can't, you can't. Try not to build up a whole lot of expectations. But expect to be out longer than you anticipated. And if you get home on time, you'll be elated. If you always expect the worst, you're always going to be elated when the worst doesn't happen to you.
Exactly.
And if the worst does happen, you're mentally prepared. And if it does happen, you're prepared. You get your books, your magazines, for that matter, you can watch videos on your smartphone, stuff like that. Do take advantage of the equipment available to you, smartphones, that sort of stuff. If one company offers a refrigerator and the other company doesn't, and they're exactly the same company as far as what they can offer, that refrigerator is pretty damn important. Important to your health, important to your rest, everything else. I have a microwave in here, I have a refrigerator in here, I've got a TV in here I used twice 3 years ago. I haven't seen it since. I haven't looked at it since, because I can do YouTube or whatever on this, or Netflix, and I'll fall asleep watching Netflix in a heartbeat, which is perfectly fine. So take care of yourself. The most important piece of equipment is the one holding the steering wheel, not the one behind the steering wheel, in front of the steering wheel. So
Exactly.
that's it. Listen, study. Don't be afraid to ask a question. If you're embarrassed about a question, it's a hell of a lot better being embarrassed in the classroom than it is on the highway when the state trooper's going, "Why the hell did you do that?" And you don't have an answer going, "Well, I was trained to do that." And he's going to say, "No, you weren't." And you know the instructor is going to tell you, "No, you weren't either."
Exactly.
So listen to them. You may not agree with them, but if you don't agree with them, ask them until they have you convinced that the reason they are telling you this is because this is really the way it actually does work.
Exactly.
I hope you guys get skid pad training. There's ain't nothing better than turning as fast as you can into a skid and going, "What the hell?" Push the clutch in as quickly as you can, get your foot off the accelerator, start moving that steering wheel as quickly as you can, back and forth, and believe it or not, physics will save your soul. Thinking through it won't. So let me let you go. I got to go over and get myself some.
Perfect.
Some
It's
stuff
been
caught
nothing
up.
short of a pleasure. I thank you so much for talking to us.
You bet. Good luck.